What's up YouTube, this is Tubedigga. In this video I'm going to share with you a recording technique that I employed to complete my final project for my degree back in 2006. So the subject of my dissertation was called Electromagnetic Field Induction in Sound Art and Phonography. It's a bit of a mouthful, but basically what that means is I researched various artists that were using various devices to capture sound that you couldn't necessarily hear unless you had the right equipment. Now this is a telephone pickup coil. You might have seen one of these before, but back in the day you used to stick this to the back of a telephone receiver and it would pick up the telephone conversation and you could record the person speaking on the other end of the phone. So I researched various artists and various other things in society where electromagnetic radiation was either an issue, like pollution, or there was sound artists that were actually using this radiation as the medium for their sound art or their art per se. No one else had tackled the subject in my particular department of actually framing what would commonly be perceived as noise as something that could be positive and used as an artistic medium. So what I'm going to show you today is how you can sample that into the MPC-X. Now you can do it with the MPC Live, but you will need to power this with 48 volts phantom power outside of the MPC Live and then plug whatever that device is into your MPC Live. So something like a Zoom handheld digital recorder could provide this with 48 volts phantom power, and then you could go line out into the MPC Live and sample that. Or you could just take the Zoom or something similar out into the field and go and record a load of different electronic emitting or electricity emitting devices and objects. But I'm going to show you how to do this with the MPC-X because it has 48 volts phantom power, which can be activated for inputs 1 and 2, which are hybrid XLRs, which you could just plug a 1/4" jack into. But to get the 48 volts phantom power, you do need to have this XLR adapter. So I'll put links in the description to all these objects. So this is the XLR adapter. Okay, so it's a 1/4" to XLR adapter. And this is the telephone pickup coil. And I'll put links in the description to these products. Okay, these are only about £6 UK pounds or $10 maybe. And these are probably about the same, maybe a bit cheaper. And then you will need preferably a mono 1/4" mini jack to 1/4" headphone adapter, just one of these standard ones. You can use a stereo one, but it's best to keep it all mono. So I'm going to plug this into my input 2 on my MPC-X because I just wanted to keep my input 1 for something else. So I'm going to plug that into the XLR adapter and then plug that into the MPC-X. Now you need to make sure that you're using whichever input. You need your switches set to the rear for the inputs 1 and 2. So I'm using my rear right, which is input 2. And in my sampler, I've got that set to input 2. You need to switch your monitor on so you can hear it, or you can switch that to off and turn the main and direct knob to direct. And then you'll be able to hear whatever's coming in. But you do need to increase the gain on the input because these are pretty quiet. It's only until you get up to the radiation emitting source that these really start to give you a nice bit of volume. But otherwise there's quite a lot of noise. But I'll give you a demo anyway. I'm going to switch my monitor on and switch it back to main. And I'm going to increase the gain. And the other interesting thing about the gain on this is you can actually tune it. As I get all the way up to the top, you can hear that kind of, it's almost like an old radio being tuned. So that in itself, you can get some quite nice weird sounds. But anyway, you can actually sample the inner radiation that's coming from the MPC-X. Now it shows how well built this device is because it doesn't actually emit that much sound. That noise that you can hear is just the noise that we're getting from this. But if we move around the MPC-X, various places on the screen, particularly near the power supply. Get some nice buzzes. But the MPCX itself is quite quiet, unfortunately. I thought it would produce a lot more interesting sounds. But let's go and see what my Mac and my secondary monitor sound like. There's some really nice sub-bass tones around the middle of the monitor here. So you might have seen a documentary on Ben Burtt, who was the main sound designer for Star Wars, the original Star Wars films. And there's a documentary where it shows him doing something similar, and I think he's got some kind of stick with some magnetic coil on it maybe, and he's waving it in front of a TV, and he's getting the sounds for the lightsabers. So it's a very similar thing to this. Now, of course, any electronic device will give certain sound. Mobile phones are pretty decent. So this is off at the moment, this old iPhone 4. If you switch it on, jumps into action. If I click out of apps, I've got the DJS 1000 on over here, so that's actually on at the moment. I'm going to switch it off and then switch it back on, and the start-up electromagnetic sounds are quite interesting. So that's the Pioneer just booting up there, and I've got the pickup coil just laid on the screen. Anyway, if you go and get one of these and go out with a field recorder and get yourself near a train line, not too near, but the underground is particularly interesting. If you've got a subway system in the city that you live in, really interesting sounds. You get all these really weird ghostly tones and drones. Depending on what country you're in, the actual AC output is different, and you're going to get different tones based on the frequency of those outputs. This is my mixing desk. The cable's really short. I've actually got some hard drives over the back here. So that ticking sound is obviously the internal clock of the hard drive. So if I access that drive, that will make some more interesting sounds, I would assume. There you go. So I'm just flicking through some of the folders on that now. So this is just a fraction of what you can get out of this. Obviously I'm just limited within, you know, the range of things that I've got near my MPCX, and as said, this is only about 70 centimeters long, this cable. I'm going to sample some of these sounds into the MPCX now and see what we can get out of that. It's a shame that tone is not louder. Actually, it is if I hold it up quite close. And here's the DJS again. Let's just switch that back on and get that nice sound that we got before. Now that sound there, they're the kind of sounds you get when you walk near train lines. You get all these really weird drones and quite ghostly sounds. Here's the MPCX. Anyway, there you go, we've got a minute's worth of sound. Now I'm going to turn the gain down because that's quite loud, that noise on there. Let's go to the sample editor. So as an example, that could be used as a bass tone. So let's just extract that. And let's go to the extracted sample there. Discard. Just create a little fade in. And a fade out. And let's just normalize that again to get it as loud as we can. And then I'm going to create a key group program. I'm going to add that sample to the key group program. Now this might be quite loud, so I'm going to turn my MPCX down. Increase the release time. Bit of LFO on the filter. And there you go. You can just capture some really interesting sounds, do a simple bit of sample editing, put those sounds into a key group or a drum program, and you can create a whole unique sound palette just from using this one little simple device. So I'll put links in the description for this product and for the adapters that you'll need. Any questions or comments on this, guys? I'll also try and find my original dissertation. I think I've got it on a PDF somewhere on an old CD that I saved it to back in the day, and I'll try and upload that. It's a really interesting read, and it will give you some background on different artists that have used this in their recordings and their sound installations. And I also cover quite a lot of other stuff, like people that record magnetic radiation from the sun and solar radiation and the sounds that you can get from that. Basically, this gives you access to a hidden universe of sounds that you can definitely hear if you've got the right equipment. I hope you've enjoyed the video, guys. Please put any questions or comments down below. Please support me on Patreon. I'd really appreciate it. I will see you on the next one. This is Tubedigga, and I'm out.